Hello and welcome to Military Mantra. In this interview, we have today Colonel Awadhesh Kumar, who is from the 9th Para Special Forces and is also an author. And in this interview, we'll try to understand his journey of joining the Indian Army, life within the 9th Para Special Forces, and various life lessons that he has learned over his service. So thanks a lot, sir, for coming on this interview and welcome.
Thank you.
So Avdesh sir, if you could tell us, how was your journey before you joined the Forge, and what was your motivation back then to join the Indian Army?
Well, when we were in school, that was the time when you got attracted towards joining National Defense Academy. Because my uncle, he was in the Indian Navy. And so I'd been to the naval base where he was posted. So I was quite fascinated with the Navy and I decided that I'll join NDA as a naval cadet. And subsequently I appeared for NDA and got through.
Talking about and how was your experience during the service selection board, and what tips you would like to give to the aspirants who will be appearing for SSB?
No, I think I had gone for SSB 74, I think, or 73. It was SSB Jabalpur. And when I went there, everything was new to me because except spending about, say, some time in the naval base, I didn't know anything about the army as such. And SSB, except maybe just before going for SSB, whatever you read in some of the GK magazines those days. Apart from that, I knew nothing about SSB. And as it is those days from Bihar, the state to which I belong, very few people used to go to the join the armed forces as such. So everything was new to me, and I just went through the thing.
Got it, sir.
So,
So there's something called as officer-like qualities that we hear about. So I assume that you did not know about it when you were appearing for SSB, but now that you have become an officer, now you're retired. How do you look at officer-like qualities and how they can be developed?
no, before going for SSB, I had gone through some magazines which, or rather, I think there was a book also available on SSB. So they had listed those qualities, about 15 of them. So I knew what means. I had gone through. Okay, there are 15 qualities, but what actually they meant, that probably I didn't know. Because some of them I think I can alertness, bearing, courage, means you knew English wise what they meant, but actually what they were, you came to know only once you joined the armed forces, or rather once you joined NDA and went through the process. So like say in the SSB also, I remember the GTO, he asked me when he was giving me that lecturate subject. So while another chap was giving his lecture, he started talking to me and said, "What happens if you don't get selected?" I said, "I've also appeared for TS Rajendra, and I passed the exam, so maybe I'll go to Merchant Navy. Otherwise, I'll try for engineering, and I have few more chances for NDA, so I'll try for them." So it was just in casual manner. And once you joined NDA, then you came to know like what is say courage. Okay, you later on you came to know there are two kinds of them, like physical courage
And
and moral courage also. Like some NDA, like I'll just give you an example. You soon learn that if someone did a mistake in your course, or rather in a squadron, your course mate did something wrong, the whole course got punished. So we used to feel, ki, what stupid kind of thing is this? But then you learn slowly why it is done. Because army, you have to work like a team, and the weakest link matters. So it means ki you can't abandon your partner. You have to carry him along. And that so you soon learn in NDA that if someone did a mistake, and when the senior or a officer came, instructor, and asked who has done it, and you just keep quiet. You don't say that chap has done it. If that chap owns up the mistake, it's okay. So you'll be told, okay, whole lot will get punished. Just tell us who has done it. But you learn that no, you will not betray your comrade. And so for that, you do require some moral courage. But then you also learn there are certain things that maybe you have to report. So that is the kind of thing you have to decide for yourself. What is what.
Correct, sir. So if you could also speak about your experience in the NDA and subsequently in IMA, how was life there, and any memorable incidents that you have which you'd like to share?
Yeah, I remember the first day we landed in the squadron, and I think two or three cadets are reported, and I was given Echo Squadron, which we soon came to know was the demo squadron. That any VIP visited India came and visited Echo Squadron also. And like first time we were on the ground floor, so naturally we'll go and see the rooms, cabins as they were called. So first day only, just I think 1 hour must have I must have spent in the academy, and the sergeant came and he said, tomorrow president of so and so country is visiting. I want that the floor should be shining and everything should be clean, means no dust, nothing. So I looked around and I found that I could already see my face on the floor. So you started thinking what the hell is happening, and then soon you found yourself those days there used to be a comic sad sack. You found that you were just rather scrubbing the floor like that sad sack of that US comic, American comic, and you wondered where you have landed. Well, and these kind of things were for the entire 6 months of first term. But then very quickly you started learning the NDA tricks and the, what NDA was all about. Thereafter,
How your life, was different or similar in IMA?
after NDA, suddenly, by the time you spent 3 years in NDA, and when you came to IMA, there was first you got the cultural shock. In NDA, whatever maybe the Ragda part, but things were means 5 star everything. And in fact, you remembered story that they used to say that when Marshal Zhukov had come to India and visited NDA, after seeing the cabins and other things, how cadets lived, he was quite surprised and said, "Are you training army or cadets to become army officers, or you're training them to become prince or something like that?" It was so grand. But once you came to IMA, you realized, oh, this is the actual army. That was the kind of difference, at least those days. Because the barracks which we were given in IMA was still Second World War type. Now I believe things have changed. But those days it was in our second term in IMA, things not that good. Though in third term we went to the main building, which was much much better.
So, sir, then how did you decide to join the parachute regiment, and what was your motivation back then?
See, I by the time till NDA, at least I had no inkling what I'll be joining. You were concentrating on things in NDA only. Once you are in IMA, then slowly you knew you had to soon give a choice that which you'll join what. So I had zeroed on to infantry, and that was Assam regiment. I decided just the for the heck of it, okay, Assam regiment. But then I had a friend, and he in NDA we were not squadron mates, but we were same class. And IMA when we landed, we were in the same Sangro company and same platoon. So he was mad about joining para commandos, and he said nothing doing. First, what happened in second term, after a long time, yeah, in IMA they restarted the adventure para jumps. They used to go, GCs used to go for this course, but for certain reason, maybe because of injuries which had taken place some time back, what, 3 years back, so they had stopped it. But it was revived, and we were told that during the term break we can go for this. So he got after me, and we volunteered. We went for a para course, basic course, and thereafter, still I was not thinking of volunteering for para. But he said, "No, you know, you have done the jumps, volunteer." And he was mad about joining 9 para. So I said, naturally, if two of us volunteer for the same unit, then there will be competition. So 10, no one was volunteering. I volunteered for 10. The best lot among us, he had volunteered for 1 para, Ivan Crasto. I've just met him after about, I think, 35, 40 years. Presently, I am in Melbourne, you know. So so I met him nearly after 40 years. So he had joined, and had volunteered for 1 para. Then there were 2 other course mates. One VN Prasad, so he had parental claim or something for 6 para, and then there was RK Goraksha, he had parental claim on 5 para. So I filled 10 para, or rather Gole, the chap I'm talking about. He is no more. He commanded 9 JAT and died on line of control while commanding on the last day of his unit stay there. Suddenly there were artist shelling, and he was trying to see that no one stays outside, and before he could enter the bunker, he got hit. So Gole forced me to write 10 para on that volunteering form. But somehow he got 9 JAT and I got 9 para. And Gole, he decided to resign his commission. So everyone got after him that why the hell you are doing this kind of thing. Then there was an officer from 9 JAT who that time Captain Uda. He came, and finally Gole was convinced and he remained in service. He commanded 9 JAT, but from there he sent Captain Uda, who later commanded 9 JAT as Colonel Uda, his son to 9 para. So when Gole was commanding, his son came to 9 para, Colonel Uda's son. So that's how I landed in 9 para.
Got it, sir. So if you could also speak about, how was the probation in the 9 para, and how, and what are the qualities that are being looked at when you're actually chosen into the unit?
Nowadays, I believe probation is really tough. Our days, at least, it was tough, but just went through it. And in fact, probably people didn't have time in the unit to really go after me, because they had some exercise or something just prior to I reported. But right after I completed my probation, the whole unit had a probation because there was an operation, and we went into high altitude area where we stayed for about 45 days. And those 45 days, it was so tough, and it was except that no shots were fired. It was full operation, and in those 45 days, I learned everything what could be learned and what I had not learned in IMA. So, but nowadays, provision is much tougher, I'll say. And what actually they want to see in the provision, that physical fitness is one thing, which in 10, 15 days, chap is fit or not. Thereafter, it is mental fitness. And if the means how to I'll put it this way, that when selection is final selection is done, the most weightage is given to the junior most officer, what he has to say. And if he says you're the chap, the officer who's getting probated, if he's okay, then it's okay, because those two have to serve for the longest. That's the theory behind it. And thereafter, voting is done. That everyone says fit, unfit, whatever this thing, and then commanding officer decides finally. So it is actually the mental fitness which is seen. And what I'll say, ki people, there are many people who will perform in front of our audience. Means you're getting it, that if you get say applauded for what you are doing, you get recognized, then you will perform. But if no one is looking at you, means if you are going to remain unsung, then probably you won't do you won't perform. But in special forces, actually, you don't want say like Hollywood movies. You see the war movies. You don't want people like that, but uh, you want people who will do their task without bothering about recognition or anything. So, like you hardly hear anything about SAS people. So it's like that.
So if you could describe how was your first experience when you jumped out of an aircraft, and after you got into the 9 para, when you jumped again, how was that feeling?
Say, IMA, my name is Awadhesh. So it's AW, not AB. But the clerk, where we went for jump, the clerk who must have typed, he wrote AB. So there were other people, other cadets were there with name with A. But because my name was AB, so suddenly when the list came, the who will be the first jumper, my name was there. I said, what the hell? Then Gole or someone said, no, no, then I'll jump first, don't worry. So then you said, if that is the case, then I'll jump whatever happens. And when I was, we got into the, we jumped from helicopters. That was Mi-8 helicopters. So first, when we got in, took off, then there were three officers from, one officer from 9 para had come there, who later commanded 9 para. And of course, our instructor, DS from IMA, he also commanded 9 para. He was that time Major Tej Pathak. So he was there. So they jumped first. And we were sitting and we saw them standing up and then going out. And then our turn came. So now helicopter takes more time. So it was taking that turn. It was area was near Saharanpur. So we stood up and we were standing. I was standing at the door and looking down and cursing Gole all the time, because a helicopter was going to take a full circle and then come to that initial point where I was like the jump would start. So I was cursing Gole all the time. Why the hell? It was because of him I was standing there looking top. And suddenly the light first turned red and then it turned green and you were out. But then I found that it was something like jumping from the 10-meter board, because there was no slipstream or anything. You just heard some sound and you looked up and you saw your aircraft, helicopter, sorry, parachute opening, and then you did the drill, whatever you were taught. But thereafter, what happened that this was January, by 2nd or 3rd, we had done our last jump. This was 1977. Then I got then in the unit after probation, they did not send me to Agra again for para basic course, which all other 4 course mates of mine had to do it. But I was not sent. And it was good after 2 years, December 79, when I landed in Agra for para dinner with another senior officer. So somehow yeah, I told him, sir, I haven't jumped for 2 years and I've forgotten everything, what parachute looks like also. And this is going to be an aircraft which I'm not seeing from inside till date. That was a C-119 packet aircraft. So he said, okay, finally we landed at para training school. Last period was going on. Because of para dinner, all senior officers from general downwards, they were coming. So they do take a quick class in which they teach you all the, means they go through all the safety regulations and other things. So last period was going on something, what happens if you are, that if main parachute, there is something how you pull the reserve and all those things. So they wanted to give a demo. So I was called, I was second lieutenant. So the sergeant, he said, sir, please come. So he asked me to wear the thing. I'd forgotten everything. So he was putting on my parachute and other things. And he asked me also, sir, I hope yeah, you have done your para basics. So I just smiled. Because without that, how could I have been there? Then next morning when we came, around 5:30 or 6, the jump was that time. And previous night was there had been dinner where a lot of drinks and other things was there. So when I came there, when we went to draw the parachutes, I found it was written in big bold letters in parachuting. Ignorance is not bliss. In parachuting, it is disaster. So when I read that, I got a bit more worried. So I thought I should go and tell someone that I'm not done basic from this aircraft. But I said, they'll say ki I'm afraid or something of jumping. So after some time, we were sitting on the tarmac, wearing our parachutes. So, and unlike helicopter where I was number 1, here I was at the 20th place. And in packet aircraft, there used to be 2 rows of 21 each. So nearly at the end, and just before me, there were 2 officers from 10 para, 2 captains those days. So I thought I'll tell them and they'll do something about this. So I told them, okay, sir, this is the thing. I have not jumped. I don't know the drill. What happens? So instead of saying anything else, they started laughing. And one of them said, just keep watching me. What I do, you also do. So then exactly that is what happened. And I found that once that green on go started, everyone was just running. And you virtually sprinted and you threw your static line and you had to turn, I think it was left, and I was out of the aircraft. And then suddenly I found that aircraft is below me, because I didn't know I had gone upside down and I was looking at the aircraft through my legs. Because unlike helicopter, here once you came out of the aircraft, a slipstream hits you at say roughly 175 kilometers per hour speed in packet. Well, engine was at the front, 2 engines, so you go sideways up. So I'd gone like that, and I'd seen the aircraft between my legs. So I thought, I was wondering how aircraft has it should be on top of me, how it has gone. But then suddenly I realized I had not counted or done anything. So I said, some time must have elapsed. So I said, from where to start? You have to start counting 1,000, 2,000 to give 5 seconds. and if a parachute doesn't open main one, then you have to pull the reserve. So I said some time must have elapsed, and I said 4,000, and then suddenly the jerk was there, and I said thank God. So that's how I was my first jump. But later on, many years later, I was responsible for ensuring the basic training and other things, organizing all these things through the Army Airborne Training School. So there I ensured that everyone, even for refresher, did all the ground training. And there, since when I went there, so I said, okay, I also must do my jumps, because I think for last 4 years before that, I had not done my jumps. So I told the PTS, and they organized a separate class for me. I did my ground training, and then only I did my jumps. But for all others, I used to ensure. I had taken a shortcut, but that I would not allow anyone to take those shortcuts. And I'll
So,
not recommend also.
yeah. So since you were from special forces, so if you could tell us, what makes them so special that people want to join it, and we call it special as well.
I'd say special forces, like I remember some very senior officer in South Block. He asked me when rather special forces had para commandos had been uh, their names had been changed to special forces. So I had been posted to Nahan for raising of headquarters special forces, and another unit under it, that is special forces training school. So I used to be on and off to army headquarters. So in South Block one day, senior general, he asked the same thing. What is so special about? So I said nothing, sir. But if special training is given, special equipment is given, then people will actually become special. But what I think you are asking, it is the mindset that you have to keep asking why. Army, when you are trained, you are trained for that. So you get trained for that, and you have to become expert. But then, as a special forces, you have to keep asking why we are doing this, why we have to do this. That is required. But of course, it has to be within the army's, I'll say, the whatever discipline envelope is there.
So, sir, when you joined as as a lieutenant in 9 para SF, so how was your first experience in combat and various learnings from that?
Those days we joined as second lieutenant. That rank was still there. So, uh, like I said, right after probation, we were launched into that area, which is a high altitude area, Buddhal Kandi. That's above Rajouri area. So the Punjab ranges on above Rajouri, that was the area. And infiltrators was, as per the rumor prevalent in the area, infiltrators had come in. So we went looking for them, though we never had any combat as such, but we went for live ambushes at night and daytime also. And you learned most of the things required in SF, that moving in small teams, or rather now team is the thing, small parties, squads, 5, 10 chaps, then at night, then using navigation, doing navigation through star, and daytime you learn map reading, um, the practical way of doing map reading and other things. And, these are the basics of any infantry, also tactics. But in SF, you don't have the luxury of being in, say, company size or battalion size force. you start operating in very, very small groups. So those are the things you learn very fast. Of course, we never had any exchange of fire with anyone. That experience came only when once we landed in Sri Lanka, where we had our first combat. And that was many, many years later.
Got it, sir.
I think the period which I'm talking about was 78 in Budalkandi. 87, we had op Pawan experience in Sri Lanka. We actually had combat.
Got it, sir. So if you could speak about your experience during Op Pawan, how was it? And I think you were operating with the other forces also, which were at that time in Sri Lanka. Like the Marcos was also there.
Yep. Sri Lanka, when we landed, one para, 10 para, they were already there. And suddenly, we thought that we'll not get any chance, but suddenly we got the orders that 9 para, one team will go there. And so that is, the orders came, say, in the afternoon, and next morning we were there. So, in fact, I was already posted out of the unit as such. Next day, I would have been out of 9 para on my way, means struck off strength, but I landed in Sri Lanka. And then, of course, 10 para was there to welcome us. They briefed us, 1 para briefed us, and we got organized quickly. And then we had our first outing. In night, we had to move out from our location. We were in the Palali airfield. We had to go out for operation. So in the night, say by early evening, that is around by 7:38, we had our dinner, everything ready, rechecking of all equipment of everyone that was done, and everyone was just trying to get some rest. But no one could actually sleep. We were all worried, the officers, that once we are in combat and things shooting start, then hopefully we should be able to do whatever we have been trained for. And then say exactly at midnight was our departure. Once we started, after about 15-20 minutes, you got so busy doing your all the drills that whatever you had learned, it took over. And then when actually contact was there, you did exactly as per teaching. And once the thing was over, after that contact was over, then we had a good laugh. And because we had done exactly what was supposed to have been done. And then thereafter, it was all go for us. And had there been some casualty or something, then maybe things would have been different. But since we were on top of it, after that, our morale was very high. And all our outings, we had the upper hand. And later on, the entire unit was there. And then we had an operation where Marcos helped us the first time. They took us from the ship to the shore. And otherwise, they used to generally do their independent operations. Much later, there were a few combined operations, but I was not part of it.
Got it, sir. So when you were in operation, what was your favorite weapon back then?
Those days, you didn't have much of a choice because our weapon was 7.62 SLR carbine 9mm, which was a very dangerous weapon because if someone behind you was with a 9mm, you always worried because it, even if you dropped it, it could start firing.
Mm.
Much after some time, then we got the AKs and other weapons.
So, sir, if you could also tell us about if you had worked or with Major Sudhir Walia as well, who is was also in 9 Para Special Forces. If you have any memories about that.
Yeah, when I had come back, I went out on posting in 1988 after spending about 10.5 years in the unit. And then from Sri Lanka only, I went to Army Airborne Training School, that is in Agra. And then from there, I went for staff college and got through staff college, got selected for it. So after doing staff college in 1991, I came back to the unit. That time, Sudhir Walia he had already cleared his probation and was in the unit. So I remember a very bright officer and full of josh, and humor. Was quite mischievous, and I think he could sing in most of the languages like English, Hindi, Punjabi, Dogri. I heard that in Sri Lanka, because I had already left when his unit was somewhere where 9 was located. So they had interaction, and I came to learn that one day they had some interaction with the Sri Lankan Air Force people. They had invited all these people to their mess, and they challenged if anyone could sing in Sinhali, and he gave a song in Sinhali also. So Sudhir Walia was a very fine officer, finest, but he left us too early. But then got the Ashok Chakra also.
Okay, so you were also a military observer in Russia. So if you could briefly tell us, what does role of a military observer look like?
What you are meaning that military observers are posted to say UN, United
Yes.
Nations, or to other countries also as liaison officers and yes, but
Yeah.
I was not posted like that. I had gone to Russia to attend an exercise where there were people who were who were going to do the training, and there were other officers who were doing that observer duty. So I had gone for that duty, and airborne forces had gone there to train and exercise with their airborne forces. So uh, I think 12, 12 to 15 days exercise was there. So we had a good time as observers. We saw how the Russian airborne forces they work, and I found that were highly professional. In fact, when they were working or ESF, they would forget about tea also, which like Indian Army, we must have a tea break and things like that. They just went through it, the entire thing, and then only had any celebrations or things like that, or any food also.
Got it,
But
sir.
it was a nice experience for good. Rather, it was first time going to Russia also. And one interesting thing I'll tell you that we were about 7, 8 observers, in which there were two brigadiers. When the senior most had come from Army headquarters, the other was that time erstwhile para brigade commander. So they had given an interpreter who was yeah, very well versed in English, and then they had 2, 3 yeah, young. They were basically cadets who were also who knew English, and so they were doing both the duties, escorting us, ensuring our security, and when we went around in the civil. So uh, once what happened that some questions someone asked, and that interpreter was trying to first consult his people in Russian, and then he couldn't find the right word in English. So in NDA, Russian had been my foreign language, which I had studied, and later on in IMA, I had ensured that I passed that diploma in Russian language. Though I'd forgotten, I'd brushed up just before going to Russia, and so I could make out looking at his face and other things what they were talking. I couldn't understand everything, but could make out what they were discussing, at least the theme of it. So when he was unable to find the exact word in English, it just came out from my mouth, and then they realized that we also at least some of us understood what they were talking about. And in fact, much before I had warned my colleagues that these chaps know Hindi quite well. So if you have to talk, converse among yourself, then you can use Punjabi or something else. But Hindi, they know. I had warned my colleague, but when that somehow that time suddenly that word came out, and all those chaps gave me a look that meant ki acha, now they are aware that we can also understand their conversation.
Got it, sir.
So,
Uh,
so those interesting things are there when you go as observer.
Got it, sir. So if you could tell us, in your tenure in the Indian Army, if I can ask you any three life lessons that you have learned, which you still cherish, what would they be?
That just live your life. Don't worry what will happen in the future, and that you have to like that leadership qualities. You have to ensure that whatever position you are holding, that buck stops there. So you don't try to pass. Means you must take responsibility for whatever you do. You must take responsibility for the men under you. You can't just pass on. I didn't do it. He did it. The mistake. If there is any failure, you as and also you have to take the responsibility. And if things go okay, then of course you will indirectly get the kudos also, but you must give the credit to your people who are below you also. And the best part is that whatever position you are holding, whatever rank you are holding, you must and try to make a difference. So that is the thing.
Got it, sir. So my final question to you would be, since a lot of aspirants will be watching this, what will be your message to all those who wants to join the forces, be it Army, Air Force, or Navy?
You should be natural, before joining, say you want to join NDA, you'll be a student in a school. So you must be a good student, study well, study hard, play games. If you are doing whatever you are supposed to be doing as a student, then you'll go through. Of course, you must have. You want to join National Defense Academy, then you must know about the armed forces and whatever it means broaden your general knowledge and all other things. But you don't have to know much about army. I think in SSB, knowing that three services wear three different color uniform, I think that is more than enough. So you don't have to worry that they'll keep uh, they'll keep asking you about the armed forces only. No, SSB just wants to know your personality. If you have those leadership qualities in you, at least the minimum percentage what they are looking for. And that's it.
Got it, sir.
So if you want to join army, then just do your present whatever you are doing, and then of course you have to prepare for the exam, not just appear. You have to prepare and appear, because nowadays there's something called merit list also. In our days, we did not have to worry much about merit list, because enough numbers, I think, were never there. But nowadays, I hear that you even after clearing your SSB and everything, medical, you may be left out because of merit list. So you have to prepare and then appear for the exam. For SSB, you have to be just yourself.
Got it, sir.
Medical means if everything is okay, then you just to worry. Nothing comes out of the blue. So I was a naval cadet. Means not a naval cadet. My choice was Navy. In after SSB, when I went for medical, then uh, that was the time I had started having trouble with my eyes. And there, what happened during the when eye specialist was examining me, that color blind, they test you for color blindness.
Yes,
So
yes.
when that that orange color came, somehow I know that I forgot the word orange. I said yellow,
Okay.
and the next second some other color was there. After 2 or 3, the yellow color came. So I said, "Sir, this is yellow." That was orange. But then doctor would have none of it. For next, after all other, I had cleared other medical. For next 3 days, he kept probing me, my eyes, and finally he wrote unfit for Navy.
Okay.
And that's how I became Army cadet. So that's the luck. So, like I'll give you one more example. You shouldn't worry about anything. I had gone for a course, uh, which I was the only officer as second lieutenant. It was first time that course was taking place. And after ground other training was over, our first practical was to be there. Jumps. After jumping, we had to do the things. There were about 20 men with me. I was the only officer, second lieutenant. We were told, we got ready, fitted our parachute. It was already 2100 hours, 9 o'clock in the night. And the aircraft came in front of us, same packet. That time, warrant officer came, and since I was the officer, he said, "Sir, the people who are doing basic course, it's their last jump. Tomorrow morning, they have their passing out, that wing ceremony, they call it. And that para wing is pinned on their chest." So he said, "With your permission, we'll send them first. You all go in the next sortie." What could I say? They are the Air Force which conducts the course. And as it is, I didn't know anything much. I was second lieutenant. So we said, okay. So we took removed our parachute, sat down. The aircraft went. After 5 minutes, there was a loud bang. And all the 42 paratroopers plus Parajump instructor, total 54 people died in that crash. So about 10 minutes later, we were pulling out the bodies from the aircraft. So that is the thing. Just don't worry. If you have to go, you go. So whenever someone is to ask me, should which aircraft you want to go and when, I said just put me in any aircraft wherever. It means like you have to go to say Sri Lanka, you go. So you shouldn't be worrying what will happen.
Got it. Thanks a lot, sir, for your time on this session. It was really interesting speaking to you, knowing about your experiences. And I hope a lot of people who will be watching this interview will also get some insight into the life of Special Forces and your perspective about it. So thanks again, sir, for your time. Jai Hind, sir.
Hello. Thanks, Akash. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir.